Before I was plumbing, I was actually delivering pizza, and everyone's like, I can't believe you're delivering pizza. Like, you were making all that money on eBay when you were young in the teenage years and all these things, and you're out delivering pizza, and you better be good at what you do. If you're not providing value, you're going to always be chasing new clients. Well, why would I want to do SEO when AI is the new thing? Rank doesn't mean anything. 3-4 years ago, that's all I would talk about is rank. I need help with why I'm not getting jobs, because either SEO is dead.
Business owner doesn't care where they're ranking right now.
Search engines are becoming almost integrated with the same aspect as social media. If you have to convince somebody that's valuable, they aren't going to be a good client. And the more people talking about your brand, the more likely AI will choose it.
What do you think how copywriting is impacting on SEO right now?
I don't think structured data plays a huge role in showing up in AI. I don't think it has a huge role in ranking or anything like that.
Psychographical questions, like people asking this question when they are in pain. So it was for the lawyer industry too. I did the same thing, and honestly speaking to you, the leads conversion was like 37 or 34% more than the previous one. Hi everyone, this is Joy and welcome back again to GrowPod. Honestly, I took some break for some days and back again. And the first guy I was actually doing the podcast with, he was Nathan, and for some reason our recording got messed up and we are doing it again. So I don't think I need to give you introduction who is Nathan, but I will ask this question to Nathan, give a small introduction to himself. And yeah, Nathan, thank you so much for joining this call. And if you want to say something about you, feel free to.
Yeah, thanks for having me. As you said, my name's Nathan Olsen. I just a regular guy, just doing SEO and marketing. I've been doing it for a long time. The reason I got into it actually is kind of like most things in my life, I kind of fell into marketing. And I know that sounds weird because how do you fall into marketing? Well, I've always been kind of a person that was like, hey, this is what I'm going to do with my life. And I created all these things where it was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to basically secure my future with a career. So I went out, I became a plumber, did all these things, and was like, I didn't want to have a family until I had insurance. Everything was just laid out how it was supposed to be. But life doesn't work that way. I ended up hurting my back, ended up losing insurance right before my daughter was born. All sorts of stuff went wrong, and that's when I realized that you can't wait for things to be perfect, because things will never be perfect in life, and things will always can or will go wrong, and so you don't want to base your life off of being like, okay, when I have this, when I have that. So after I hurt my back, my boss at the time actually had me doing all this stupid stuff. I mean, things I really hated. I was filing paperwork. I was basically doing secretary work. And I hated it. I have always been a very hands-on person. I liked fixing things. My dad was a mechanic. I liked preparing things. I don't want to be a mechanic, but I do enjoy sometimes doing that as a hobby. So then when I started doing, basically I had to interview these marketing companies and do all these things for this boss at the time when I was injured. During that process, I ended up meeting some amazing people, one of which I'm still good friends with. We still talk even to this day. We actually ended up meeting back up about 6 or 8 months ago. He was basically my first client. He owned an agency. I interviewed all these people, and basically after I saw what they were doing, I'm like, hey, I can do that, and I bet you I can do it better. And they laughed at me. We were in a meeting, and here I am, this younger kid at the time, so they're laughing. They think this is a funny thing. Like, you know what? We'll give you a location. You go ahead, you work on that, and we'll work on the others, and we'll see where we end up. I ended up doing a great job, obviously, because they were like, hey, we want you to do white label for all our clients. And that's when I realized it's like, hey, I may have hurt my back and lost my career and what I felt was stability, because when you lose something you work so hard for, it really breaks you down, or at least it did me. Like, I remember sitting there going, how am I going to take care of my kid? Well, at the time I only had one. Now I have multiple, but the time I'm like, how am I going to take care of my child? How am I going to put food on the table and do all these things when my only skill has been completely wiped out because I can't do it. If I continue to do plumbing, I'm going to be in a wheelchair. I'm going to end up being bedridden. I'm going to end up being miserable and ornery. No one's going to want to be around me because I'm going to be, I was in pain all the time. That motivated me to basically, once I realized that, hey, I can adapt. And I've always been good with computers and stuff. It's just everybody always used to give me crap and be like, why are you plumbing? Why are you doing this? And before I was plumbing, I was actually delivering pizza, and everyone's like, I can't believe you're delivering pizza. Like, you were making all that money on eBay when you were young in the teenage years and all these things, and you're out delivering pizza? And I'm like, hey, I just want to live my life. I just want to listen to music and have a good time. And, at the time I didn't have kids. So that's kind of how I got into marketing. And then from there on out, I just, like I said, my whole goal hasn't been to necessarily make millions or billions, or even though that would be nice. I think my main goals is just to help people. I enjoy helping people. That's another thing that I had to learn about myself And because after once again, this all goes back to the roots though. That's why I'm mentioning all this. When we go back to the roots of the plumbing, I didn't necessarily miss the job. I missed helping people. I missed showing up at people's homes and then knowing they're not going to get ripped off, knowing that I'm being honest with them and be able to give them other options than what they were used to. And even though I looked younger, well, I look young anyway, even for my age, most people say, but I looked extremely young in my 20s. I looked like I was straight out of high school. And so a lot of people were skeptical, but I really enjoyed helping them, and I really enjoyed working with my hands and doing those things. And marketing, that was a big adjustment because it's not like, oh, they hire you. Oh, I helped you. Isn't that great? Don't you feel great now that I did all that stuff to your website? And it's like, that's not how it works. We all know this. You got to wait. And so that's kind of how I adapted over to the marketing thing. And what I realized is at first I was working with a lot of smaller ma and pa kind of shops and businesses because, like I said, I subconsciously didn't realize it, but I really enjoyed helping people. So those were my clients back then, was like all little ma and pa who couldn't afford to hire somebody for, $5,000-10,000 a month, but they knew they needed to do something. And so that's where they would, I'd come in and I'd do what I could for them for the budget they had. And it felt really good helping them. And so I was like, okay, this is good. But at the same time, here I am. I'm also struggling because I was new into the marketing field, number one, so I didn't have quite the experience that most people did. So it's not like I could come in going, hey, I want $5,000 a month, $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month. I had to come in. I believe at first I was charging $150. It might even been $125. $150 a month per client is what I started out charging. And so I took a huge pay cut from being a plumber, down to that, and I'm going. But then at one point I was managing about 80 of them at a time, so I'm like, well, we're real close to my pay now. But what I realized is I was spending a lot of time working on these, and I'm working probably double the hours I was working as a plumber, which is hard to believe because when you're a plumber, I was on call. I'd leave at 6 a.m. I'd get home about 8 p.m. and I'd still be on call. So the fact that I was doing more hours, I realized I had to learn, and I had to learn quick, and I had to do basically different and try different things. So it was like we were literally doing all sorts of I was doing all sorts of stuff. Like back then it was a lot easier to get listings on Google. So you could do like a map listing. Basically all you had to do is put your address on the second line. The first line would be the address where the business supposedly was, the redirect hack. And so I was doing that and being like, naming it things like this could be you, ranking here or whatever. And it would be like, I'd still be like a marketing agency, but I'd be ranking like with the plumbers as number one. It said this could be you. So I'd get all these calls because they'd be like, how are you outranking as your marketing agency? Why are you? And I'd get calls for plumbing too, which was funny because I'm like, that wasn't my intention. And then I just kind of adapted over, and I've been doing that. That was a long time ago. I mean, I don't even know if I'm being honest. I think 2009 is around 2008 or 2009 is when I began. And I stayed for a while working for the plumbing company that I worked for, doing their marketing. And that was where I kind of learned the basics, because it's like, hey, we want more maps, we want more locations, we want, to show up all these different places. And then I realized on how much I was being underpaid, tried to negotiate with the boss, obviously. He's like, well, I don't know, like, if I really want to pay that much. And I'm like, well, I'm going off on my own then, because I got to be able to make more money. Obviously, like I said, my main goal is I want to help people, but at the same time, I have to be able to provide for my own family, because my kids, my kids, I grew up poor. Just to give you a little bit of background, I wouldn't say that we were dirt poor, but we were poor enough that there was times that my mom didn't eat. So, but we always had a house. We always had, basically she didn't. It took me a while to realize we were poor because she was pretty good at hiding it and keeping, and trying to make it so that I didn't know as a kid. But obviously, as you get older, you're like, wait a minute, why does my friends have this and and we don't? And and you're like, this is kind of weird. And so as I've gotten older, my main thing is I don't ever want my children to have to experience being treated differently just because they're poor. I think nobody should. Nobody should be treated. It doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you less value. It doesn't make you anything. It simply is money. and I think that it's unfair that people are treated bad because they're poor, they can't afford certain clothes, they can't afford the right shoes, and I think that's gotten worse in today's society as well. I think, at least here in America, a lot of
Yeah,
people.
true. I've been experiencing the same thing as well. My channel is quite similar to yours. So yeah, you're totally right.
So yeah, so it's motivated me. That's what motivated me to become, or to be, get where I am now. And with that, you have to basically, with those two things motivating me, A, never wanting to be poor again, B, wanting to help people, you have to basically become the best at what you do, or you better at least know the people that are the best at what you're trying to do, because it takes a lot of skill and it takes a lot of time and dedication in order to make sure those things happen. Because A, it's hard to get new clients for most agencies. That's the most number one complaint I get from almost everybody I talk to is, I'm having a hard time getting clients. And so if you're having a hard time getting clients, you better take care of the ones you have, meaning you better be good at what you do, because if you're not providing value, you're going to always be chasing new clients. And if you suck at it, that's where I think the majority of the problem is. So to me, it was like, I tried to do everything I can to provide that value to clients. And it's hard in this new ecosystem that we have going on right now, because you got all these people saying, oh, Google's no good anymore. Google, it's all AI now. And it's like, and a business owner, when they come into and they're hearing all these things, they don't know what to believe anymore, because
Yeah,
this isn't their industry.
totally.
So they're kind of confused right out the door, in my opinion. A lot of the people I've been talking to lately, they're like, well, why would I want to do SEO when AI is the new thing? And it's like, being honest, none of us know what the future is going to hold. We really don't. We don't know, is AI going to take over? Is Google going to continue to be number one for search? None of us really know this, including Google. But I think that we all agree that AI is going to be more and more important moving forward. And so I think that's where things get complicated now with a lot of people I'm talking to, at least new clients, because they're like, well, what is the value? We used to always were like selling rank, like 3-4 years ago, that's all I would talk about is rank. Well, we'll get you here. Let me show you a campaign we did last month. Let me show you this. Let me show you this campaign we've been running on for 3 years. This is what you can expect. And now it's like, rank doesn't mean anything. I've seen people come to me. I've had people come to me and show me their reporting, and I'm like, you're doing great in terms of ranking. And they're like, yeah, but we're getting no calls. Why aren't we getting any calls? And it's like, you have to go through, and and that's the biggest difference, in my opinion, right now compared to before. Is prior, rank equaled jobs. Now that's not the case. There's so many different factors that come into that. And a lot of it people ignored because they just wanted to. People just want quick, easy money. That's why the people who are like, hey, I can make you $1 million tomorrow. They sell a lot of that because that's what people want. But that's not the reality. So with that said, I think that's the biggest change in basically the ecosystem, is that we're looking at a situation to where ranking isn't necessarily it anymore. You have to have good messaging. You got to have good You got to have good creative headers. You have to grab their attention, hold their attention, and then have a good CTA for them to contact you when the time is right. So if they're ready to contact you and they can't find that call button, they can't find a way to contact you, you just wasted your time on catching the attention, keeping the attention. Now you've lost it. So it's almost like everything has to go and play into that system to achieve what we're trying to achieve now. And I think the problem is there's a lot of websites out there that have existed for a very long time and did really well that just are now they're not getting the jobs anymore, and they don't understand why. And it's because the copy on their website was never intended for people. It was never intended for anyone to really read. They just were like, it works, we rank, we get jobs. And
also, it was never updated anytime. It was like
they just left it. It's been working for 10 years. Why won't it work for another 10? And I think that's what I'm running across a lot of, is people going, hey, I don't need help with SEO. I need help with why I'm not getting jobs, because either SEO is dead or something. I don't know what it is, basically, they're telling me, but there's something wrong. And then they hear these people talking about, well, it's because everyone's switching to AI, so now it's like, hey, I want to rank in AI. And you're like, you don't understand, that's not the problem. The problem is you could show up in AI and you'd have the same problem. You if you don't ask, it's going to be a no every time, and you're not asking questions. You're not being engaging. You don't have any CTAs. You don't have even a call now button on mobile. You're missing. It's incredible that these people, and it's not even their fault because for 10 years it worked, or whatever, 10, 20 years. They could have been working way at the very beginning, some of them.
Yeah,
And so
I mean,
that's what I think changed the most.
and the things in the meantime you have mentioned many words. Actually, people don't understand this one. Like we've been experiencing the same thing. Business owner doesn't care where they're ranking right now. After all,
Yeah.
it about how many calls in Google My from Google My Business Profile, how many bookings they're getting, right? For local business, especially what we're managing, this is all what matters. So first of all, I got the same question from many of the clients. Joy, what you are doing extra for ranking on AI? I said, yeah, but first of all, rank on Google. You are not even visible on Google. Why will be on AI, right? So different things are happening right now. I'm totally agree with you. And the one thing, the what you mentioned is so important. The green signals on maps and the ranking one to will not matter. Already not matter, but it's not going to be any SEO metrics on sooner. This is going to judge nothing. Like if people are not getting jobs or clicks, it's totally fine. And based on that, my first question is like as you mentioned, there are some changes needed on the headings and everything. What you are seeing, like people searches behavior. Uh, I think people are searching a quite different base for the AI. If the searcher become more longer or is become changed, how you think is affected for the SEO industry now?
Well, what's working for me anyway, um, is basically we just kind of review. We do a lot more research than prior, and it's easier research because prior it would be all manual. Now you can leverage the AI to actually extract the data from the AI. So, as an example, if you could still do it manually, if you were looking up, personal injury lawyer in Los Angeles, you're going to see it's going to give you an AI overview. Well, that AI overview just tells you that right there alone has told you almost everything Google's looking for, at least their AI system. So you would take that, you would put that into a sheet, and then you take the people also ask. You take that, you put that into a sheet. You go to clear to the bottom of the page. It's going to show you what other people also search. You're going to put that into your sheet. Now you have most of the structure of what, at least we know what they're trying to accomplish. Because obviously they think that's important, or they wouldn't give that as an AI overview. They also think the people also ask is important, or they wouldn't give that in the middle of the page. And then if you don't find your answer, the bottom, those are things that other people search because they're like, oh, you didn't find what you were looking for. Maybe you're looking for this. And so those components right there, in my opinion, are the most important because you have the answer. You know what they want. So now you have to analyze that data and go, how can I make this better? What is it missing? And that's why the stuff at the bottom is important, because the stuff at the bottom is really close searches. And so sometimes just adding in a little bit more, boom, you've overthrown them on the AI overview. You've revamped that page to where it was like it used to perform really well, and then it just died. Now it's like you added that in, and now that page is performing again. And so that's kind of what I've been doing and overall looking at. But at the same time, you still have to look at everything because there's going to be that tiebreaker. Because if everyone's doing the same thing, which I suspect that a lot of people are doing the same thing I just described, so there's going to be a tiebreaker. What is the tiebreaker? Well, it could be that my website's faster than yours. It could be that, once again, I have call to actions or whatever, and you don't. So they can't find it. They go back to search. They end up on my page. I have better creative ads. Like maybe my headers are better. Maybe my title's better. Maybe it's more catchy to where someone's like, it's not ranking the best, but that I got to know what he's talking about. I got to click on that. And then you get them in, and it's like, boom, catch. You caught their attention. You kept their attention. It's almost like we're shifting over to social media signals is what it feels like to me. It feels like Google and search engines are becoming almost integrated with the same aspect as social media. You got to grab their attention, hold their attention, and usually there's some kind of action you want them to take. The same that's pretty much the formula for social media. And the same thing it seems like with Google now. It's like you catch their attention with your title. They click into the page. You want them to perform an action, usually call or contact or fill out a form or a chat bot, whatever you're using, or all of the above, because everyone's different. So the more options you have, and without being intrusive, I'm finding that's what's working the best, because then when you do that, you're capturing more jobs or clients or leads, whatever you want, whatever you're trying to achieve. And that's where the client is like, hey, it's working. I am getting calls. I am getting jobs. I'm getting chats. I'm getting contact forms, emails. I'm getting people calling. I have people even showing up at the shop or the office or whatever. And they generally never ask about ranking. They want to see metrics, obviously. They want to see, how many chat interactions did we have? How many people clicked the call now button? And things like that, I think, is becoming more important. Like I said, then rank, because the problem is Google stacks your LSAs above it. They stack the ads above it. They've literally, like, you're ranking number 1, but you're really number 7 now. Like,
Yeah, everything is above you.
yeah, except for certain terms. And then the other thing, the one last thing that I think is really, really important, and I just learned this not very long ago, is that we're going a lot more into like transactional questions. So prior, I wasn't using a lot of that because I was just answering the question. Well, AI took over that. So you're competing with something that you're going to lose at. You can't go in there and answer a question and hope that AI overview is going to use it and it's somehow going to magically drive jobs, because it isn't. But transactional, like, who is the best personal injury lawyer in Los Angeles? If I got in a car accident and I have a traumatic brain injury, who should I hire in Los Angeles? Or things like that. That's what I'm finding is where the real gold is, because then that AI overview is saying, hey, this is who you should hire in Los Angeles for a traumatic brain injury. Well, that drives jobs, that drives clients, that drives customers, as to where those other questions don't.
And how
And
do you think like AI are picking those answers? Like when you are searching for who is the best personal injury lawyers from your area, searching questions like that, how do you think Google AI is actually picking answer for this one?
so how do we influence it to choose what we're talking about or who the best one is and things like that? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
So that's where it gets tricky, because that's why part of it I hate, because it takes so much work. But on the other hand, it's like, I think this is what everybody's talking about. AI is the future. AI is the future. And I hate catchphrases too. People say things, I've seen it throughout the years, of everything being the future, and it usually isn't. But sometimes it's right. We heard that short video was the future way before TikTok ever existed. And it's almost like somebody was just listening and was like, oh, wait a minute, that's a great idea for a platform. So basically, in my opinion, what's working and what I'm doing is it's almost like you're building brands within brands. And so, as an example, before, you didn't necessarily have to even have a face for a company to rank or to do well. But now you have to have, like, founder, you want, like, employees, you want as many faces involved, and those faces and those people should have their own presence online as well. And so as you all build up that presence, as an example, if Todd jumps on LinkedIn and he's like, oh, hey, over here at Indio SEO, this is what we're doing today, blah, 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 and he uploaded a little clip, and that's going to overall help build Indio SEO. And so when they search his name, it's going to show also that he works for Indio SEO, and vice versa for every firm. So it's almost like you have to have a team of people to come in and talk about not just your brand, but your personal brand, and then your employees' brands, and they all intermingle together. And that's what AI likes. They like people. That's why Reddit does well. That's why, because so it's almost like you have to train a company to do things a little bit different than they've been doing. And sometimes it works really well. Sometimes right away that the company ain't going to do it. And you just got to move on, because the last thing you need, just like with SEO, is to try to convince your client that it's valuable. If you have to convince somebody that's valuable, they aren't going to be a good client. Like, that's just that, because they're always going to be questioning it. They're always going to be doubting it. And you're going to be doing more work trying to convince them than you are to actually do the work, because and everything you do, they're gonna fight you on. Like that's just oh, we can't get you video. Oh, I don't want to be on a video. Oh, I don't want to be. I, I just want to be a lawyer, like and you're like, I get it, man. I just want to do marketing, but I just want to do marketing too. Like, I don't want to, have to get in and be a face and be, and post and do this and do that, and I just want to do the work, and I feel the same way. But that's not the world we live in anymore. We live in a social world, and with the social world, to prove that you're legit, because AI is so good now that you have a hard time deciding whether that's a real person or not. But when you build up those signals, like I'm talking about, building that personal brand and everybody in it, AI can't fake that right now, and I think that's why they trust it. Same with Reddit. So basically, getting everything you can out there about your brand. That's what it's about. And the more people talking about your brand, the more likely AI will choose it. However, SEO does come into this play, because if you rank, you're more likely to show up in those because you've already gone over that trust or that authority factors.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
If your backbone's SEO is good, yeah, that means you have already enough authoritative links to you, and this is something I think AI actually giving priority as well. And I would like to ask you a question. Like something I'm doing a lot of research for the local SEO for recent days as well. I'm finding some good words. Like some of those are I know only for sell. Like people are using those jargon like I want to sell something extra. But something I find very interesting too. One is structured data. So what do you think? How important structured data is right now? Second question is, what do you think? How copywriting is impacting on SEO right now? So it's actually experimenting by me as well after getting suggestion from one of the big name as well. So he's actually kind of confidential, so that's why I'm not mentioning the name. So he's saying the same thing. Just try to update the copy and make it like psychographical questions, like people asking this question when they are in pain. So it was for the lawyer industry too. I did the same thing, and honestly speaking to you, the leads conversion was like 37 or 34% more than the previous month, only for these simple things. And AI automatically picked up so many questions for us. I did only this same thing, structured data update, and this is the copywriting update. So do you think these are something important elements too?
So for a while, I thought structured data would be very important. I thought schema was going to play this huge role into AI, and it makes sense to think that, or at least I thought it did, because I'm like, we're literally, this is what it's built for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
help the machine understand. Like, this makes sense to me. But what I'm finding is, I don't think structured data plays a huge role in showing up in AI. I don't think it has a huge role in a ranking or anything like that. However, there is times to where, like as an example, if you're selling a product and you did the schema markup for the product where you could put the reviews on there, then you're going to get review stars, which therefore is going to influence somebody to actually do the click to the website. And when you're selling products, it's a lot different too. When you're going to e-commerce, it's not getting, in my opinion, it's not getting hit as hard as some of these others. Local on mobile, LSAs show up first most of the time. I want to say 90% of the time, but maybe not 90. But it seems that way though as I'm going. I check stuff manually a lot, so I'm like, just to see what it looks like on my device, what it looks like on an Apple device, and then I'll use Inspect tool. But as I'm noticing, it's like, well, if I as a marketer am having a hard time recognizing whether this is LSA or an ad or if this is the real map pack, then I can guarantee you the customer has no idea.
True. No idea. Because this
So,
small sponsor tag is not something that you
and,
use.
and they don't even understand what that is. So
No.
that's my opinion. Schema has its time and its place. Schema and that kind of markup is more of to activate features or to help speed up activating features. Because you don't even have to have that to have features. Like, Google's gotten pretty good at that kind of stuff, showing in your site links, showing those things. But schema does help that. It does help speed it up. It does help ensure it shows up. So to me, to take that extra couple of minutes, I do it. But I don't think it's a huge factor in ranking. I don't think it's even a factor in ranking at all, if I'm being honest. It might help in a couple scenarios to where you have they're debating on where you're located or something. Like if they're not quite sure, let's say you moved a lot of different locations and now you're at this new location, I think the schema data might help in that factor to help them say for sure 100% this is their address, not this old one. Um, but like I said, you're talking like 5 or 10 more minutes of work. I mean, whether it works or not, I mean, we don't know what the future will hold. Why would you not do it? That's my opinion. Like, I could see not liking it. I could even see that you may not want to do it. But for 5 or 10 minutes, like I said, the future may be completely different than today. And so if it becomes a factor, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh no, I need to go do this." It's like, dude, it was only like 5-10 minutes. Why didn't you do that before? Like, that's crazy. And yeah, that's kind of my take on the schema thing. I can see why people don't like it. I can see why, I think Jordan goes around saying that's scamma, whatever, and that's fine. Like, because some people are saying if you do this, you're gonna rank, and that's not true. I don't think that's true at all. But if you want to activate features, you should be using schema, for sure. Like even when and sometimes they take it away. Like the FAQ schema is pretty much gone except for huge brands. But at the same time, like, what if you did show up? What if it did work? What if it did activate? So to me, I'm like, that extra 5 minutes, I would do it just because of that. Like I said, anyone who tells you that they know the future is, well, they wouldn't be sitting here doing what they're doing.
Honestly, this is the thing. No one exactly knows what is going to happen now and what is happening. Everyone has their own theory. Just totally agree with you. And the other question is, what do you think? Like copywriting definitely impacting on AI result or like results on anything? This kind of psychographical queries.
Uh, Explain that again.
Okay, so if I'm giving an example, instead of searching like plumber near me, someone is searching now, plumber near me who provide that insurance. Okay, specific. Then if I'm mentioning this exact line on my copy, then somehow AI is triggering that point that yeah, that website is mentioning that point, and somehow getting the more conversion. You know, like what I'm meaning right now.
Yeah, I think that the searches are changing. I think that keywords are going away, and that's what it looks like. And like I said, but these are all just kind of, once again, we're all just kind of looking at the data and going, hey, it's shifting, and that could change. It was just like my stance on schema. If you would have asked me the same question maybe a year and a half ago, I would have told you I think that it's going to have a huge play in AI. But as time goes on, AI is too smart. It don't need it. Like, quite literally, it's better at explaining things than most humans. Like, it can literally say, oh yeah, this is what this page is about, and explain it in one sentence. And if that's the case, if the AI can explain your whole page in one sentence better than you did in the whole page, that's part of the problem. But I think the search is changing, and I think that it's going more long tail. I think that, and I don't know if that's because people are using voice search more, or if there's so many different factors in it, but I think people are starting to recognize, or they're becoming more familiar with the AI, that they feel like it's somebody they know. So as an example, like you wouldn't search Los Angeles personal injury lawyer anymore to somebody you know. You would say, what personal injury lawyer should I hire in Los Angeles? And why? Or, things like that. I think that's where we're going, because that's kind of what we're seeing. Or at least when we do that, we perform better. And so I think people are becoming to where they're trusting the AI more than they trusted Google search. And because of that, they're becoming more specific on their search. And because they're getting the answer immediately through the AI overview. And I think because that's happening, it's kind of reprogramming the way we thought search worked. And so because of that, instead of me going on there and being like, plumbers in Salt Lake, I'm going to be like, who has the best rating? Who's the highest rated plumber in Salt Lake? Or I might look up something like that, versus just I want a list. I don't want a list anymore. I want the AI to do the work for me, and then let me choose between the top 2 or 3 from the data the AI gives me. And I think that even regular searchers are starting to experience that, and I think that's why we're going to see this shift in these keywords. It's going to be
And
more
upcoming
key phrases. Key phrases, and it's going to be, and I think they're going to be more marketed towards questions. Like I said, I want the highest rated plumber. I don't want the lowest, or I don't want this, I don't want that, or what plumber near me works on boilers or whatever your problem is, because you might have a problem that's very unique, that maybe most plumbers don't even do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
that
I,
was a question actually. Yeah, and I will ask that question in the last. But before that, I have one more question. And one thing I've had to is called nap consistent. Definitely, that was not new. It was always there. If your nap is consistent, that's good for you. And AI is also what I'm hearing, giving one of the factor. So, what do you think? Citations kind of links are getting more important right now, or other should be too?
I think that they've been important for a long time, if I'm being honest. The problem is at one point, a long time ago, all you had to do is do citations and you'd rank in the pack. And the people who've been around since then, when the algorithm updated, and that didn't happen anymore, a lot of people came to the board and were like, hey, this citations are useless. They don't work. Because we were used to, you do some citation, boom, you're in the pack. Like, you might not be number one, but you'll be dang close. And so it was like, when that stopped working, a lot of us were like, well, are they even working at all? And there was a lot of people that ran around saying they don't do anything. You can rank without them. And I saw stuff. I saw lots of stuff ranking with like one, maybe zero citations. And you're going, well, is it really a factor? But I think it always has been, and I think that it helps reinforce some of the stuff that we've been talking about. Your trust signals, you are who you say you are. It is, you're building that brand, and I think that it's going to continue to go that direction, and we're going to continue to see less and less. Eventually, I think that Google's going to stop rewarding the spammers that include keywords in their name. These lead gen companies that have exact match domains. We're kind of seeing it now, and I think it's going to keep going in that direction because AI now is smart enough that it can identify these things. Google didn't want to invest in all these employees to go after this stuff, but they don't have to anymore. Just like we don't have to do a lot of this manual stuff anymore. We have AI to do research. We have AI that can look up things for us. We have AI that can structure it for us. And we can literally do things with AI that we've never been able to do without huge teams. And the same goes for Google. They don't need a massive team anymore to identify spam. They have artificial intelligence that can go through and find those. And I think that's where we're going to be going. They're going to start demoting them, and they're going to start choosing brands again. We've seen this before. This happened before AI came into play. There was a time, once upon a time, to where Google released an update that actually rewarded big brands and corporations because, and everybody made a fuss because originally Google's stance, or from what I saw, Maps was created for local business, small businesses, to compete with the corporate world. So when they unleashed that update that rewarded these big brands, everybody was like, hey, wait a minute, Google. What are you doing? This isn't cool. Like, you just destroyed my business that you said you were helping. And I don't think Google really cares much, but they got to keep in line with what they believe and what they're trying to achieve as well. They have their own mission, and
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And they're doing their own business as well.
so I think going forward, I think citations directories are important. How important? It's hard to say. I think it's all based off of which directory or citation you're talking about. Like, we already know BBB is huge. Most people hate them, and they can even be really expensive in some areas, especially for what they give you. But we know that Google looks highly up on them. I've had plenty of times to where I've gotten BBB for a client or whatever, and their map listing is auto-verified. Never made me do a video, never made us redo anything. They just took the word that, hey, you're with the BBB. You've already gone through checks and balances and verifications through them. We trust them enough to know that you're legit. So that tells me that's a very powerful citation. Why wouldn't it? Because if they trust it enough to let me push out, let's say, a fake listing, well, that's got to be huge. That's got to have a big impact on your business by having that. So some of them, yes. I think some of them, no. And I think that's what changed. And because, like I said, the prior, all you had to do is spam 30, 40, 50, 100, 200, 300 directories or citations, and boom, you'd rank. Now it's more of like being in the ones that matter, the ones that are relevant.
Relevant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. So if I ask my next question, it might be a quite big question to you or big answer. if you want to make a checklist right now that these the things I'm going to follow in SEO strictly, especially for the local SEO, what these things going to be from the start to, like one simple checklist. This is the thing I'm going to focus more now. I used to do that earlier as well, but this is I'm going to focus more now on.
It's, I think, once again, it kind of goes back to the checklist. I think is kind of a dying art when it comes to SEO, but there's always going to be things that should be done. And with that said, the website is probably, in my opinion, the most important thing when it comes to your business, because that is your home base. That is your opportunity to explain who you truly are and not what AI or Google or anybody else thinks of you. And everyone's going to come to that source to get that information. So your Google AI and everybody is going to come to your website, and then they're going to translate basically what you said over to what and who you are, which is your brand. So your website is definitely the foundation, and that's where most of the data and everything you're going to be doing or working with comes from. So those people who are ignoring that, I think, are at a huge disadvantage. So I'd focus on the website first, getting everything in place and structured right, getting all that data in place. And then from there, obviously, you'd build your Google business profile, your Google Maps. I just call it Maps because I'm sick of changing the name. And then from there, you would obviously you still want to show up. It's gone back to basic marketing principles. There for a while, everybody, we got lazy, we got spoiled in a way because we were able to. Without building a brand, we were able to drive calls and jobs and clients and customers by simply most people were tricking Google, and it's still happening to a degree. You see it exact match domains to where they actually have the name of the city and the keyword as their business name, and that never was a branding. That was always you're tricking Google to think that search query was a brand, and so that's dying. And with that, you got to learn that doesn't work anymore. Or it's going to stop working. It's stopping. It is. Like, I have those types of businesses reaching out to me all the time. Hey, blah, 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 this is what's going on. And I look at their site, and they have these massive sites, too. They have these massive sites. And I'm like, every page is just AI-created garbage. Like, yeah, you provided the information, but if I was to type that same query into ChatGPT, the answer from ChatGPT would beat that page. And if that's the case, then that page is useless because you're not providing anything. So we got to kind of transition into that. So in terms of a checklist, it's more of just basic marketing principles. You want to build a community around you. So if I was starting and I only took on clients in Utah, I would be going to, the Chamber of Commerce meetings. I'd be going to like BNIs where you meet with other business owners and get everybody around me to know who I am. I would get like billboards. I obviously would have a website. I'd be running ads. I would be doing basic SEO stuff, but focusing more on those questions that I was talking about. Because AI, as it becomes more trusted, people aren't going to ask for a list anymore. They're going to ask, who do I call? Who should I hire? Who should, basically, we want a straightforward answer. People don't want they basically are starting to trust AI enough to where they want it to make the decision for them, which I find terrifying, but because I think that it can be easier manipulated than Google could.
I guess so. Yeah, some are the saying so. Like, AI is easy to manipulate right now, and some are already doing so. But the good thing is, like for last few months, one thing I've noticed, everyone have been giving their theory. Many people are experimenting their thing. This is the good thing, right? And this should be happening. Like, it should be somewhere in the middle time. There is nothing new. Everyone doing the same thing. Everyone going for the same direction. Everything was same. Right now, in the 6 month, it seems really good, especially to me. And everyone is climbing for, hey, I'm declining the traffic, I'm not getting traffic, but it was totally opposite for me. Only for one thing, just I'm keep experimenting things and I'm applying those things. And still I'm thinking the principle is very same. There's people's behavior are getting changes. So this is the something we need to be focused on in the future. And the one question, do you think SEO going to be dead soon or something going to be happening?
Okay, repeat that 1 second. My speakers, you're real quiet on my end.
Sorry. Yeah. So I'm saying, do you think SEO going to be dead soon?
No, I don't think SEO is dying at all. I think SEO is becoming more difficult. I think SEO is becoming more platform centric. So basically, you have to optimize everything, and that's the problem. And so you either have to have a large team, which is probably going to push you out of the picture in terms of how much you have to charge, because you got other people who have learned to use AI, and so they've replaced a lot of team members, and they've kept it small, but they're able to perform these tasks by you leveraging AI agents and different automations. And so with that said, if you have to have this in order to optimize everywhere. You have to optimize. It's almost like even your billboard should be optimized to a search. Like when we a lot of people that we do billboards with, we kind of influence them to be like, we do something funny or catchy, and then we throw up a search term. Instead of asking for them to call a number or go to our website, we're like, hey, search up blah blah blah, whatever whatever their branding or message may be, you look up that, and then when they search that on Google from the billboard ad, then it pulls us up, or their business profile and everything. But Google also likes that because they're going, hey, they're not just taking customers from us; they're actually bringing customers to Google. And so I think that's important. So it's almost like you have to optimize the billboard. You have to optimize for. I think that we're almost on that era to where we're going to start trying to transition into in real life and virtual to combined again. Google tried this a long time ago with Google Glass, and it failed miserably. I think we might be in an era to where this might be trying to be resurrected again, with like the Ray-Ban Meta AI glasses, and they got the Oakleys now. I actually was looking at them, but I couldn't find anybody that I know that has any to ask them what they thought or what was even the cool thing about it. And it's like I like the idea of being able to record when I'm out hiking or somewhere or doing something cool, but at the same time, are other people gonna like that? Because you get a little light on the side of your glasses, and they're gonna be like, "This dude's recording. Is he some creep? Is he like, what I mean? Like, people are weird like that." So I don't know if we're quite there yet, but I think that's kind of where we're trying to transition into this mix between real life and virtual life, and we're going to kind of collide together. That's what, at least this is what the people in charge, I think, want us to do. So that way, when you're even driving walking down the street somewhere where you're visiting on vacation, you have your glasses and you're seeing the ratings of the restaurants, and you can ask your glasses or whatever, where's the best restaurant for this near me or whatever, or what's the most authentic restaurant for street tacos near me, whatever it may be. And I think that that's kind of where they want us to go. And I think that there's going to be pushback. I don't think we're quite there, but I think that's kind of where it's like, and I think that changes the trajectory of where we're going, because if people embrace that, I think search could be changed dramatically overnight. But if people refuse or reject that, then it's almost like, well, Facebook and some of these social media companies are going to have to go back to the drawing board, because that ain't going to work. And if it does work, then everybody has to change their strategies, because you're going to have to do something to try to catch the people in real life as well as the people that are on a cell phone or a smartphone or a laptop or desktop's pretty much dead except for professional industries, in my opinion. Unless you're a doctor, a lawyer, a marketer or something, you probably don't even own a desktop. Even most marketers now don't own a desktop PC.
Honestly.
Yeah,
We've been used to now with laptops for multiple years now.
yeah. Most people are yeah, exactly. They've adapted over to that. I have a desktop. I have a laptop. I have, I like my desktop for certain things just because I can do both my monitors. It's much bigger. I'm getting older. My eyesight's not what it once was. So trying to split screen on a laptop is still kind of small and hard for me to, especially when I'm designing a web page. If I'm doing design work, I don't like it as much on a laptop, just because I can't toggle things back and forth, and I can look at the page on one window on my desktop, and I can look at what I'm designing on the right side, and I can design around it. Refresh on this end on Inspect Tools. I can do it on my laptop. It's just a lot harder. But the majority of society does not think like me on that aspect. The majority, it's all laptops. most people don't even have laptops. They do a lot of it from smartphones. And I'm like, when I'm buying something, I hate buying stuff on a phone. But once again, I'm not the norm because I like to be able to like do a lot of research and review at one time. I can't do that on my phone as easily. I can do something on my laptop or my computer in a couple seconds. It'll take me like 10 minutes on the phone. But that's where society is going for sure. Is they definitely are laptops and smartphones. So desktops are pretty much dead. Like that's just well, unless you're a gamer, I guess. Some gamers have desktops too.
Yeah. Actually,
Gamers have desktops too.
they'll have desktops. Desktops are powerful for gaming. That's totally true. And even I'm using some monitors. Like monitor is very relevant, and it's actually personal preference to everyone. Okay. So Nathan, my last question. Honestly, this would be the last question to you. If you want to suggest someone about the SEO right now, like what he needs to do to grow his career, or even what he needs to do learn to make himself better than others, what that could be or that would be.
Learn the traditional marketing principles. Learn psychology, how the human brain works, how we interact with things. These are things that I've been growing and learning for probably the last 5 years of my career, and I wished I had known at the beginning because if I had, I would be. Well, I went through a divorce, so I probably wouldn't have it anyway because I lost everything anyway. But the point being is, I would have been a lot better off in the long run because of that. Because when you learn those things, you are going to be better off. Because as we discussed earlier, ranking isn't really what it's about anymore. And because of that, you have to stand out. And for you to stand out, you have to know how to stand out. And if you don't understand the basic marketing principles, you're not going to be able to know what that is or what that means. So that would be my advice. Learn the psychology of selling. Learn what people interact and why it works and why it doesn't work. And do those things. And go off of your own. Like, go into the store. Like, as an example, let's say you're going to go buy a new TV. Go into the store. Look at all the boxes. Look at all the stuff. And you're gonna end up in front of one. Ignore the price. Ignore all pricing. You're gonna end up in front of a TV that you'd buy if you ignored the price. And so look at it and go, why is it that this one drew me to it? Why did this work? Is it certain colors? Is it the way they did the box? Is it the features? Is it that they put words big bold? What? But there's going to be something there. There's going to be correlations between those. And you could even test it if you take a family member, a friend, and you each do it, and then not with each other around, and then tell each other which one you chose. And a lot of the times you'll choose the same one, or you'll be, at least if you chose, say, pick the top three, you're going to end up with the top three. And it all has to do with that same thing. And these bigger brands know this, and they understand the things that us smaller marketers don't. And because they have the data. They've been doing this for a long time, way before internet, so they know certain colors work, they know certain graphics work, they know certain themes work, and that's like what has really helped me grow from where I was just doing like SEO, and then I went into website design, and and then I've gone into like building affiliate stuff and doing all these other things, even helping with bigger companies. But that's the difference. That's the difference is you have to get creative too. Like creative marketing either is gonna get like the American Eagle thing. You might get a lot of controversy, the bunch of backlash. Yeah. But they did. But it was such a good play on words that it's like you get half of the people being like it was so good, and then the other people are like it's just trash. Why would they do that? And it's like, and I'm not saying to go for that, but I'm saying you got to go for something that's so creative that anybody who sees it is everyone's going to end up talking about it, and so that's where I think the difference. If it was me starting over, that's what I would have focused on is learning the traditional marketing methods, things like that, to where you can know people respond to certain words too. Like you don't want to say price. When you're talking to a potential client, the last thing you want to say is, "Oh, it's like $2,000 in price," or let me send you a bill. Like there's certain words you don't want to talk about. You don't want to talk about price. You don't want to talk about, cost. There's a lot of negative words in psychology when it comes to that, to marketing. And so it's more of like, instead of calling it a cost, a lot of people use investment. It's just an investment, or it's not. But there's trigger words in us that are wired into us that we don't even know are there. And if you don't think it is, wait until someone comes to your door, calls you, tries to sell something that you don't want, and you're just waiting for them to say something. So you're like, no, don't want that. Like, and even if you were there to buy something, sometimes that can happen too. Like even with the TV scenario, if you go in Best Buy and they're pushy or they're like, oh yeah, this is it, blah, 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 blah. It only cost you $2,000. And you're like, well, cost, I don't know. That means I have to part ways with my money, even though that's why you're there. Like, but we do those things subconsciously, and everybody, I don't care who you are, we're all wired like that. Just like we're wired to see faces. We see faces in clouds, we see it in food, we see it. But we're also wired the same way of if we feel somebody wants our money, it'll have the opposite effect. We don't want anything to do with them. Even though we're there to buy a TV, we knew we were going to spend money. We don't want to anymore. We're going somewhere else. Best Buy just wants my money. They're not here to help me. And the guy could have been completely honest. He could have been hooking you up with the best TV there at a great price. But the problem is when he mentioned price, cost, money, whatever it was, you just were like, ooh, I don't want to do that. And so learning those things is important. And a lot of people are more educated now. You talk to, even lawyers, even like plumbers, electricians, handymen. A lot of them were a lot more educated now to where when you're talking to them about marketing, if they know more about it than you're in trouble. So, because they're going to be like, because ranking's no longer in the equation anymore, or at least it's heading that way. And if that's the case, what makes you a better candidate than the dude down the street doing it for $100? Because most business owners don't know the difference. And so that's my take, or my belief is that, learning as much as you can about traditional marketing methods. What fonts work better? What colors work better? Why there should be a call to action every scroll, or why is the first scroll so important? Why is these things? Because at least then when you get a chance to get to bat, at least you're going to hit a home run. And as to where the other scenario, you might get a bunch of chimes to bat, but if you ain't hitting the ball, it don't matter if 1,000 people visited. You're not going to close them. And if you had 10 and on the other method, 10 visitors, and you closed half of them, that's more than the person that's getting 1,000. Like, so that should be the foundations.
Got it. So yep. Actually, this is all for now. I guess that is a really, really useful conversation with you. Every time, it is always like when I talk to Nathan, and everyone knows this for you. Nathan is always super back with information and like valuable information. So Nathan, thank you so much again to join this call, and hopefully, and I will send you some clips based on this one. And again, thank you so much for your time to join this one, and everyone will love it for sure.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.